In the terminal list, by the way, Amazon Prime Video, you will have Riley Keough.
That's right.
Who is
Granddaughter of Elvis. Is that how you say it?
Of Elvis. Yeah, Riley Keough.
Ah.
That's how I
you said it. She looks so much like Elvis. Her face, she looks way more like Elvis than anybody else in the family.
She is she's, for those who don't know, the whole family had very glowing reviews about Elvis, by the way. Like very, very pleased with Elvis, which shows you, I mean, look, Elvis's life, it's not like people are like, whoa, what the fuck? He had a complicated life. Like, it was a very complicated life, but like, it shows you, hey, you can make a movie about a complicated life and the family can also improve it.
I think they kind of did that with King Richard too, in a sense. So like, I feel like it's becoming more commonplace. Thank God.
Yeah. Lisa Marie Presley is her mother, who has an incredible list of spouses, by the way. Initially Danny Keough, but then Michael Jackson, then Nick Cage. But yeah, so they all said glowing things about this movie. Elvis, another movie by Baz Luhrmann. An absolutely insane Australian.
It's like actually
it's crazy that he's Australian every time.
Really? If you told me he wasn't, though, like he is, if I were to think about 5 Australian people, he is one of them. Hugh Jackman being number one.
He has major Eastern European
he does.
I don't even know, like just the energy about him.
Is like Karl Lagerfeld. Like he just style jacked him. Like it's crazy.
Strictly Ballroom was his first movie. Moved it from stage. Romeo and Juliet.
Watched it yesterday.
Really popped. I did rewatch it. I moved my score up. I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, I do too.
Moulin Rouge in 2001, which is obviously his more acclaimed movie.
His only acclaimed movie.
Yes, that's true. That's the one that got a lot of love, obviously. Somebody did say to me, like, didn't that win Best Picture? I said, you were thinking of Chicago. Yep. Australia in 2008, which is one of the most bizarre movies ever released.
Terrible movie. Let's be frank.
I do not like it. It's not a good movie. The Great Gatsby, which I don't love. The Great Gatsby, for me, my critique of Great Gatsby, and it's a wacky movie. It has its moments. I always felt like he didn't go full on Baz. He didn't Baz.
No.
He was like maybe too faithful to F. Scott.
That movie is extremely faithful to the Great Gatsby book. Yes, for sure.
It just like it. The
Kanye song that was that was my favorite part.
But like, I just wish that movie. It wasn't as wild as Romeo and Juliet, which is ironic because like he took Romeo and Juliet, which is like the world's first story after the Bible, and he made it absolutely fucking insane. I just never liked Great Gatsby. Now we come to Elvis, a movie that's been hyped for a while.
30-minute standing ovation at Cannes.
Yep. Many people auditioned for the role, including Miles Teller.
Miles Teller should have got it, I still believe, but
Did Harry Styles audition, or was that just a fan cast?
Harry Styles auditioned. Ansel Elgort auditioned.
Yeah, definitely should not have gotten it.
That would have been terrible.
Austin Butler in the end gets the movie. He has been hyped up for many reasons. He's been made fun of on all social platforms. He got very lost in the character, his voice. He has defended it, though. He's like, look, he goes, people are comparing he's admitted, he's like, look, like I have moments that I get triggered into like speaking, which I think that's fair. I think if you talk in a different voice for 2.5 fucking years, like you're going to naturally maybe have that voice seep into your life. He's also not, he was like, people are comparing it, and they're comparing it to clips of when he was like 17 years old. He's 30. Like, so I will defend him on that. And yes, he does sound a little bit like he's doing the Elvis voice, like when he's on Fallon.
He's the first post-release method actor. Now, no one really does that anymore.
Yeah. Remember when they were like, hey, to Bradley Cooper, like, hey, can you sing at the Oscars? Like Jackson Maine's like, no.
I mean, Johnny Depp, most famously. I mean, the guy's just sounds like a mix of Jack Sparrow and some weird British dude. Yeah.
But he is very much like still like the voice is still there. Again, he is older. I'll defend him on that because he's been made fun of and he's been asked about it. He's like, yeah, my voice is a little different. Yeah.
He added in the little lad after.
Also stars Tom Hanks as Colonel Tom Parker, who we may talk about more than anyone in this movie.
The snowman.
I'm the snowman, the Dutch guy. Everyone knows this accent. Definitely not Tom Hanks.
It's the is it Doc Ray Montgomery?
Yeah, And Zac Efron.
I always think I'm saying it wrong. He was in that.
He's probably a better actor than Zac Efron, but he looks so much.
Yeah,
like
in terms of people you may recognize, Calvin Harrison Jr. You may recognize. There's a couple names in here that you may see.
The guy who played Little Richard, by the way, fucking phenomenal, insanely good.
Oh yes, I mean I thought everyone in this movie was honestly, except for one person, really good.
Arguably the person
Olivia
with
DeJonge
the
is
most
Priscilla,
lines.
a really good Priscilla Presley. Olivia DeJonge is very good. There's a lot of solid performance. We'll get okay. So let's talk about the movie, then we'll talk about Tom Hanks. So I guess Tom Hanks may seep into your immediate review of the movie. It's about Elvis, but it's through the eyes of the Tom Hanks character, Colonel Tom Parker, which I do like that's what they did. I like that idea. I like that Baz went with that. This is not it does a lot of Rocket Man-y things, but it also does it does like a lot of classic biopic stuff, but Baz finds a way to do it in his style, and I like it. Look, Bohemian Rhapsody is what it is. It is a fucking info dump. Hey guys, it's like they may as well have the fucking ushers come into this and be like, hey everyone, this is where they do Bohemian Rhapsody for the first. Like, it is a fucking Wikipedia entry of a movie. It's a fine movie. It's an average movie. This follows some beats of a biopic. It really goes along the timeline. It doesn't get as fantastical as Rocket Man, but it has its moments, and I like a lot of the ways they present some of like the historical things that impact I almost said JFK's life. Well, Robert Kennedy is referenced. I don't know why I said JFK, but they impact the life of Elvis. So yes, it's about Elvis, obviously. I like the movie. More the second and third time I saw it, which is funny because every time I think about Tom Hanks movie, I hate him more and more. I don't know why it works. It just works. But Tom Hanks is fucking terrible in this movie.
Bad.
It is brutal. And it's if you're too weird for a Baz Luhrmann movie, that's a problem. But because it's a Baz Luhrmann movie, it does still work. That's the thing. Like, if this character was dropped into a regular biopic, holy fuck, it would be the worst movie of all time. Like, truly.
There is a level of expected weirdness with Baz, which
that is what covers it up. Like, you can kick a little dirt over it, kick the rug over it, and it's fine. I think Austin Butler's fucking incredible in this movie. I think he's really fucking good.
So good, he made me forget he looks nothing like Elvis at all.
Right?
That's how good.
That's crazy. Which is, you can almost kind of say about Taron Egerton with Elton John too. Like, in my head now, I don't think. And again, this is recency bias. In my head, when I think of young Elvis, I see Austin Butler. Which Austin Butler's not been in a ton of things. He's been in a lot of old Disney shows and like Nick show. Like, he was in like Ned's Declassified, I think. He was in like Zoe 101 briefly, like old like Disney shit.
Did he date Taylor Swift? Is that why I know who he is?
He dated Vanessa Hudgens, I think.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
He was also in he played Tex in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. I'm the devil. And I'm here to do devil shit.
Yeah, he gets his nuts bitten by his dog. Yeah. What a fuck! I fucking love that movie. That Spawn Ranch scene, which I rewatched this morning, so good. Gooch on your mic case is very loud, by the way. Just a heads up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is no edit though, so everyone heard us just yell at you for that. Austin Butler is also going to play the nephew of Baron Harkonnen who was originally played by Sting, right? Played by Sting. Yeah, in Dune Part 2, Fade Out. Yeah, so I'm excited for that. I thought he was fucking amazing. Look, I really like this movie. I had a fucking blast with it. It's very long. I never got bored of it. I love Baz Luhrmann's style. It moves around a lot. It's very exhausting, but I don't really know what to say at this point. You know, I love Romeo and Juliet. I like Moulin Rouge. I just like the style. I don't know why. I really can't explain it. I'll talk about why I didn't rate it higher than it should. If Tom Hanks had put forth, I'll say this. If Tom Hanks had put forth an Oscar-worthy performance, this would have been the best movie of the year for me. I'm not even kidding. It's not. I have it below Moulin Rouge. I have it below Great Gatsby by a hair. I have it an 83. I really, really, really like it. I will preface again, I really like Baz Luhrmann and I like his style. If you don't, this movie will make you fucking vomit after the first 15 minutes. Like there's just no other way to like it. I'll let you talk about how quickly he holds on. How short he stays on any shot.
It's unbelievable.
83 for me. You go, Ken. Check.
It's such a weird movie because I feel like the first act is directed by an entirely different human being than the second two acts. And this movie's so long, it's 3 hours long. So the first act is like a full hour of fucking nonsense, nearly unwatchable trash. So bad. And like it really boils down to like while he's flipping through all of Elvis's early moments and consequentially like Tom Parker's origins, which we all came there to see, like it's like cut. And I was like sitting there and I started like paying attention to how long he stayed on each shot. There was a sequence for about 15 minutes where he did not stay on a shot for more than 1.5 seconds, which is insanity. Like it was literally, and I tweeted it while I was watching the movie because I was in back of a theater, empty theater, and I was just like, I'm getting whiplash from watching this movie. But it's weird because after that first act, I feel like it gets so much less Baz Luhrmann-y, and because of that, the movie gets a lot better. And then because I think they kind of shift the focus away from like rapid fire giving you all this exposition about his life growing up and like his relationships and all this shit, and getting into like when he actually like feels things and becomes a human character in the actual story, gets a lot less Tom Hanks involved. And I think that's where the story really shines. And that's where, like we said before, like Austin Butler really crushed, I think, the role and was so good that he made me really forget that he looks nothing like Elvis. And that's one where and
he does sing his older Elvis. They infuse some Elvis, which I think is natural. I mean, he's not going to sound like old, but like his young stuff, it's him.
And remember when they first cast this movie, I was like, this is unbelievable that they didn't do Miles Teller, because Miles Teller can sing. He looks a lot like Elvis. He's a great dramatic actor. But like when I finished the movie, I'm like, I'm happy they cast Austin Butler because I think he was really, really fantastic. And not only the singing moments, which were awesome and I think shot extremely well by Baz Luhrmann standards, but also just in the dramatic moments, like when he's like freaking out on stage, when he's slurring his speech, when he's doing all that stuff. I think that is where the movie for me got a lot better. And I ended up rating it an 80. It's just below Moulin Rouge for me. I think that
much higher than the Romeo and Juliet.
Significantly higher. If this movie, if you rip out the first half and you make it a 2-hour movie that starts when their second act starts, this movie could be like a 90 something. But like that first act is so putrid, so terrible. It brings down the rest of the movie a lot. And I think the two things that bring it down a ton for me is beyond that first act, it really is just Tom Hanks. It's Tom Hanks. He is so out of place in this movie. It's crazy. And like he's doing this weird. And I just tried to impersonate him. It ended up sounding like Adam Sandler, but he kind of sounded like that goofy Adam Sandler voice. It was so stupid. And it's so
he looks stupid too.
He's one of the most recognizable and famous actors on earth, and you have him in a fat suit. It's always going to be distracting.
There are so many heavy set people in Hollywood that they could have used.
Trillion you could have cast. They could have cast an actual Dutch person. Like it would have worked better that way. But Tom Hanks is so fucking distracting in the movie. It makes you more frustrated because you want to see more Elvis. You want to see more Priscilla. Like even, and by the way, I wish they'd used more Priscilla Presley because they didn't really feel like they could have. They underutilized her a lot. And also they very much glossed over the fact that Elvis met her when she was 14. They're just like, yeah, we're not going to bring that up. But yeah, I feel like they could have used her a lot better and shown their relationship a lot more because she was kind of just like I don't know, she's like window dressing on the entire movie. And like she had played a major part in Elvis's life. But I think that Austin Butler in his performance specifically towards the end of the movie, when they show him sort of like breaking down as a human being, I think that's where he really excels when he's like freaking out, screaming and shit and getting nuts. I think that's where he
trashing the hotel. That's one of the better hotel room trashings or room trashings.
Wrecks the hotel. I thought that looked great. His also sort of descent really into the bad place toward the end of it was awesome. Biggest complaint, and we talked about this, I know really early on, another huge complaint is just not nearly enough fat Elvis. Like the switch of him being very regular Austin Butler to fat Elvis like that is very, very jarring. Like you got to show him getting fat. And what's the quote?
About the
best eater?
Yeah, well, I don't want to disservice it. It's too funny.
It's like you needed more fat Elvis in this movie, and that's why I like because when they cut towards the end of the movie, right, and they start superimposing the actual images of Elvis, like you see how he actually looked and like how he, like all those things, and I think that specifically, which was done very strategically by Baz, made me appreciate the movie more towards the end because I realized how photo accurate kind of a lot of this, like the concert scenes were, like for example, like the scene where he does that NBC special, like that was an awesome scene, and like they shot it basically, and I went back and watched the YouTube after, like They shot it very, very similar to how it actually looked. And that song that he does towards the end of it after RFK was killed, like I was reading.
If I Can Dream. That's a great song. That's probably my favorite Elvis song.
It's so good. And like I was reading about it and how all the other people involved with it were saying like, yeah, that's the most emotion I've ever seen so important to a song. And I think they really sort of captured that in the moment. I thought that was really incredible. So you have the quote.
I like the montage of when he gets into the movie business too. I thought that was a really cool. That's a very Bazzy.
I wish they had stuck on that a little bit more.
I'm a big
movies.
What movies? Yeah.
I wish they had kind of touched on that a little bit more. I grew up on Elvis movies, and it's a really weird. It's almost its own genre. Like
yes, it's very much its own genre.
They said it used to be like the only profitable picture was like you make a movie with Elvis in it, and like people are going to go.
But like those songs, I like a lot just to hear them for a little bit. Like
Little
Less Conversation,
Great Las Vegas song, the from the TV series with James Caan and Josh Jamal.
Rubberneckin's maybe my favorite Elvis song, at least from that era. So like, that's cool. Here's the quote. This is I'm the first person to retweet this. Did this guy steal it? And I can't. This must be the original. How did I even see this? One of the most disappointing aspects of Baz Luhrmann's Elvis is that it never once shows the great man eating. One of history's greatest eaters, and not so much as a peanut butter and banana sandwich. I just love that's such a simple like takedown and like true. Not overly mean, but yeah, it's true. He's a great eater.
You get like 1 second of him eating like a piece of cold cuts, and I was like, oh, I got pointed at it, and I'm like, we're gonna see him eat, and then that was it. And that was a little bit frustrating. There's a lot of Bazzy stuff in there, especially in that first act. That's
the Vega performances are so fucking.
That's the thing. It's like the Vegas that's all in the third act, and that's what the movie is. That's the best part of the entire movie. Like the movie gets better every minute it elapses, but that first act is just.
So the first act didn't bother me as much, but I think the difference between you and me is like I actually was okay with how quickly everything cut. That's the style I do like with this. I have not been. I saw this movie 3 times. I rewatched Romeo and Juliet. I rewatched Moulin Rouge, and I can't really I can't put words to describe like the sensation of liking that. I don't know what it is. You know, like when you eat like something once a year and it's okay, but you eat it again, you're like, that's a once a year thing for me. Like a fucking root beer or something. Like I don't know, like. Something really stupid that like you'll have one like White Castle.
I was going to say Arby's.
Arby's, right? I'll have White Castle once a year. I can't do it more than once. That's a Baz Luhrmann thing. Like I understand what I'm watching is fucking absurd. It's ridiculous, but I'm fine with that once. Maybe, and you know what? I'll even concede to you. Maybe it is bad, but I like it.
First act.
I like it. I like that style. No, but I will say. The thing in the first act that is undeniable, then I'll let you give your thoughts, Gooch, is that Tom Hanks he's horrible. I think this is the best. I think this is if Tom Hanks puts forth an Oscar-worthy performance.
Dude, didn't even have to be
I think this is the second best movie of the year behind Everything Everywhere All at Once.
It didn't even need to be like it didn't.
I'm with you, Ken Jack.
It could have been serviceable.
It could have just been. Oh, you're right.
It'd been okay.
He is just lucky that he's in a Baz Luhrmann movie. That's really like that is what it is. I'll use it.
Be getting clown. If it was like any other person.
He is a relief pitcher with a 6.0 ERA who goes in just to clean up a random game on a 112 win baseball team. Mm-hmm. Who wins the World Series. He sucks ass, but he's on a great team, so it's fine. Like he gets away with it.
Yeah, I think that, and this is where we'll I guess differ on that first act. Is like that's something where when we watched Bohemian Rhapsody, right? That fucking iconic editing scene that everyone despises. Like I hate that in the same way that I hate that.
But what if I proposition it with this? But what that is awful. Which, by the way, put some respect on it. It's best editing winning movie.
Yeah,
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Unbelievable.
Can you at least credit, and you can say no to this, can you at least credit the fact that at least with Baz, it's done to style? It may not be something you like.
It's not incidental, that's for sure.
Yeah, Bohemians was like, what are you doing?
Because that was not the entirety of the movie. That was just like that one scene was horrible.
Yeah, at least it's like, you may not like it, which there's no director in style that I can just be like, I wave the white flag. If you hate it, I totally get it, more than Baz Luhrmann. But like, at least that's the style to an extent. But I am okay if you hate it because I get it. I get it. It is exhausting.
I think the other part of it too is that in the first act, beyond it being again horrible, is like they rushed through a lot of Elvis's like beginnings. I feel like a lot of this stuff is just like, oh yeah, he was in the army. Oh yeah, he was like doing all this stuff in the beginning of his career. Oh yeah, he was in movies. Like all of that is done so fast and so like kind of glossed over, which is fine in retrospect because that's what made the third act so good. But like I'd rather you almost not mention it at all then like make it so part of this like sort of like mad insane sprint of a first act. Just like start it off in the middle of like Elvis's sort of decline post movies, and then like you can move forward from there, getting into the third what was the third act. And I think the movie is way better serviced for it in that regard, because the third act again is just it's so good. It's so good. And maybe it's in retrospect it's better because the first act is so bad. But I really couldn't believe how bad that first hour was compared to everything else. It really is like they were directed by two entirely different human beings.
Well, and Gooch, you can give your review and
the
thoughts.
Rap songs. Why did they do that?
And
the 2 or 3 rap songs right in the middle of a fucking Elvis movie when
that's very.
It's the Dewey Cox when they do that.
That didn't kill me as much as I thought it would, because I do think in Great Gatsby it is very. I don't like anything. Gatsby, I don't like it. You said you saw in a theater full of a lot of 60-year-old women. They must be going crazy, right? Was that your tweet?
Yeah. So I'm in Kentucky right now visiting my parents, which is, right next to Tennessee. There's a lot of Elvis fans in this area. And everyone in the theater was pretty much just 60-year-old women. 60-year-old women. Actually, before I walked in the movie, this 60-year-old woman behind me in line was like, yeah, I never come to the theaters too much because you never know what you're going to get, but I think this is going to be good. She was like, last time I came to the movies was a few years ago for a Brad Pitt movie, and it was terrible, just terrible. I want to know if it was Ad Astra or Once Upon a Time.
Yeah.
Which I love both of those movies. I just didn't say anything. I'm lower on the score than you, Kendra. I'm actually at 75, but I think I liked it more than you. That makes sense. Like I enjoyed it more than you. I enjoyed the first act. I enjoyed pretty much the whole movie. I think it was a little bloated for obvious reasons.
It is long. It is very fucking long.
3 hours.
There's a 4-hour cut.
Yeah.
Do you think they cut out the full?
Yeah, I like it.
Hour they cut was just him eating.
Yeah, I like it, but I absolutely do not need to see the Baz 4-hour cut. I don't need that.
Tom Hanks didn't even need to give an Oscar worthy. Just don't. And I know there's like you want to be faithful to real live people who existed. Like you don't want to just completely change who they were. I don't think you needed to do the accent, and I don't think you need to put him in a fat suit. It was Goldmember in a fat suit is what it was.
He looked like he was wearing a fat suit was the problem.
And because he's one of the most recognizable actors in the fucking world. That's why we know
but
he's
proof though,
a very big fat suit.
Like you have to go, if you're going to do that, you got to go Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
So I guess he wasn't in a fat suit. He just got fat, right?
I just don't think that accent works no matter who's delivering it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't think it would have worked.
Yeah, like fucking Stellan Skarsgård could have been good in that. Make it like someone else, like at least that's from the general area.
Elvis at the end. I can't believe this guy's not American.
Yeah, exactly. Unbelievable.
Tom Hanks is also significantly slimmer than he used to be.
Yes.
Tom Hanks is pretty like, slimmed down.
He's like as close to Castaway as he's possibly going to get. And like they're like, yeah, no, I'm just going to throw like 80 pounds of fat.
Well, for those, because where do you put the other Baz movies for comparison?
For me? It's below.
Well, no, for you, but for Gooch, because people don't know. Where do you put them in
relative scale?
I would still think I like Romeo plus Juliet better. Still, I watched it yesterday. I really like that movie. I think it's just a lot of fun.
And fucking party scene.
Abrasive.
Yeah. Mercutio, draw your sword.
Sword. It's a gun.
I just like it. It's just fun.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Like, nothing you're saying is wrong. Let me be clear. Nothing you're saying making fun of that movie is wrong. I just like it. I don't know.
I will never shock anyone.
Every time I watch it, I think I watch it being like, maybe I'll hate it this time. And I never do.
The outfits are just ridiculous. Yeah. Oh, it's so fun. I don't know.
That's it. Like, by the way,
inverted camera filter. Like it's bizarre.
That's a great John Lasagna casting. He is so good for that role.
Rocking the skull patch.
Mm-hmm. That party scene. If I'm gonna, I was talking to somebody about this movie, and they said like, oh, I don't think I've seen the Romeo and Juliet movie, and I said, here's a scene from that movie. Prepare yourself for Elvis, and I sent the party scene because if you can deal with the party scene in Romeo and Juliet, you can probably deal with everything else. But yeah, it's a crazy movie.
I'm with you, Jeff. I like the first hour. Like the editing, I get why like it can turn. I understand 100% why it would turn someone off. But it's like it's so stylish and just quick and fun to me, at least. Like I had fun with it. I don't know.
But that wasn't consistent is the problem with me. Is like that editing was so specific to that first act, and then it didn't do that again. The rest of the movie.
I don't know, and I need to look this up. And again, so this is not me speaking on fact whatsoever, but I do wonder if that was a style choice because he's rushing through so much. Like maybe it's meant to. Yeah. Maybe you're meant to feel like you're on a fucking really fast. I don't know.
Even if it's on purpose, it was still bad. You know what I mean? Like if it was like intentionally done that way to try and rush us through that beginning.
God, I would love to fucking interview him.
Yeah.
The other thing you touched on, Kinjek, I do wish there was more to his relationship with Priscilla. I think that's a really interesting part of his life, and just like, there's some crazy stories out there about that. Like, there's one story that like Priscilla was fucking like either his trainer or her trainer, and Elvis just put out a hitman on him. It was like, kill him.
Yeah, I mean, they address some of the appropriation stuff that he's always been tied to. Yeah, like they do address like some of the more complicated. He's a very complicated figure, but again, that is why I'll say this too, though, and I think you'll agree with me on this. This is why, and it's very complicated, and it's not fair completely to do the takedown of Bohemian Rhapsody solely because it's a story they chose to tell, even though. They also faked half that fucking movie anyway. Yeah. Where he's like, "Hey, I have AIDS." Like, all right, let's do Live Aid.
Change the entire.
That didn't fucking like. Which is again, you can change a true story. That's fine. But like when you're doing it so much about a biopic in reverse, where you're like reverse engineering the story, like an incredibly complicated and complex life. Yeah, that's what will always kind of get me there. Though it's a quality of the movie, which is very average. That's why the score is average. It's not that part. But like this story is so much more interesting, and it really captivates you. Just like Rocket Man did, because you see the music, you see the high moments with the low, and it really makes you, I think, appreciate the ups and downs of the story of the biopic, because a true story biopic can be fucking boring as shit. Mm-hmm. It can be it's like watching a Wikipedia entry, which I don't get. I never get the sense with this movie. And I think it goes a little more beat for beat, and it's less fantastical, like I said before, than Rocket Man. But I never felt like. There's points with true story biopics where I go, Jesus, I could honestly probably watch a YouTube video that breaks it down that's more interesting than this. I never got that with this movie. The movie was always, whether it was parts you didn't like or not, at least the story was like interesting. It did it in a way that kind of kept you moving, and didn't seem like you were, like I said, getting an info dump on Elvis's life,
It's stylized. That's what you go to a Baz movie for, is for things to be more sensational, I would say, than
well, I mean, what's he gonna do next? He won't do one for like 7 to 10 years. So
are we in the spoiler section?
Yeah, I mean, it's Elvis. He's dead.
The other thing I really, really did not like, and I have to bring it up, why did they make it look like Elvis and his mom were like fucking?
Yeah, there was a very weird
like,
sort of.
There was like a weird thing that it was the way he shot it, like. I get like he wanted to put their faces like close to each other, like them against the world, but like the way he angled like their faces together, looking into the mirror, like it looked like they were fucking. Yeah, it was so bizarre. Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all. As someone who was sitting next to their mom watching it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not a big fan.
People forget. Some people think he's in Home Alone.
Also very funny. My dad came with us. He tapped out with 20 minutes ago, just left the theater.
That's amazing. Dude, that's what I'm saying. It's just it's so abrasive in that, especially very hyper specifically, that first 20 minutes is so abrasive. It's crazy.
I was like, did you want to see the end of the movie? He's like, I lived it, son.
I kind of love that. That's a great old guy move right there. Actually, speaking of, so I guess it would be considered step grandma. It's my grandpa's second wife was like an Elvis groupie, and she moved to Hawaii with him, and like they had some sort of relationship. I don't know what, but she remained obsessed with Elvis until she died, and it was she was a big fan. They put it that way, and like it took us a while to realize what the actual situation was, because she'd have like pictures of herself in Hawaii, and it's like, yeah, and here's me and Elvis, and we're just like, oh, we understand what's happening now. Took a minute, but we got there.
Do you think he's alive still?
Elvis? I think he's big dead.
He was spotted as a groundskeeper at Graceland, they say. I think 5 or 6 years ago. Him being in Home Alone is my favorite theory, though. It looks exactly like him.
Does look a lot like him.
It does look a lot like him in the background of Home Alone, in the airport scene. Mm-hmm. That'd be crazy.
You know what line really sucked was when Tom Parker was like, people say it was the pills that killed him or the food that killed him. No, it was love. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. Boss, like, that's such a dumb line.
His best line was, Where's the Sandy Claus sweater?
They're like tapping his
Sandy Claus.
It just you know, if they would have done a House of Gucci movie and they let Jared Leto do the Jared Leto character, it'd have been amazing. It actually would have worked really well. Now that I think about it,
They leaned into it at least. That is the best comp. It's like stop putting skinny actors in fat suits.
yeah, you gotta stop.
Unless
doing
it's
it.
comp.
No, actually, he looked better. Leto looked way better. Like
And-
Leto filled into it.
And Leto is more of like it's he can immerse himself into a role, whatever you want to say about him, way more than Tom Hanks can.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks is just Tom Hanks, no matter what movie you put him in. I mean, he's Geppetto doing his Italian accent. It's gonna be the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I didn't even think about that. Fuck, are they gonna make him do an Italian accent?
That movie I don't even want to fucking think about. Movies. Just let me hear One You Wish Upon a Star and I'll move on. Yeah, I don't have much else on this. I liked it. I think we kind of hit them kind of quick. I mean, we probably could have spent longer on it, but I think we hit our points. There's really no point in like regurgitating it. But yeah, I don't know. I liked it. And I'm going to tell you this too. I didn't love it as much the first time I saw it because I didn't want, and I've been joking about like how the fact I knew I'd like it. I put out a tweet last week that I loved it. I hadn't seen it yet. I was fucking around.
Yeah, you tricked me.
Yeah, I know you did. You were like, yeah, you wanted me to expand. I'm like, oh, I didn't see it. I didn't love it as much the first time, and I think because I was too focused on the Tom Hanks thing, and like I don't know, I was maybe in the right headspace. Saw it again, I was like, wait, I think I like this a lot, and then I saw it again. So yeah, I don't know. I like the style, and I think the style, if you don't like it, you will hate it. But the one thing I do think everyone will take away is that Austin Butler is really good.
Yeah,
I don't think he'll win Best Actor. I think he's better. I think it's better. I think it's better than Rami Malek, to be honest with you.
yeah, I would say he's way more lost in the.
I think Edgerton was better. I think Taron Egerton was better as Elton John, but by hair. I thought Austin Butler was fucking awesome in this though, and I'm very excited to see him in Dune. Like really fucking
They
excited.
shouldn't have replaced fatness with sweatiness because Elvis, one of the great sweaters, and including to the great eaters, but they just made him sweaty instead of fat. It's like we know he was fat.
Yeah.
It's not rude to his legacy to make him fatter.
What if Austin Butler uses the Elvis accent in Dune?
In Dune, and he's going up like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
I'll have to cut the spas. Polish. that's just Hank Hill.
That is he's an Hank Hill. Like what? I actually wasn't sold on him in Dune at all. At all, which actually I'm still working my way through Dune. I'm not a good reader, folks. It just is what it is. But that character, Fade Ralph is in Dune very early in the book. And in my head, I actually have when I first pictured it, in my head, I couldn't picture Austin Butler, but now I can. Like, I just think he's so fucking good in this. And he was fine as Tex in Once Upon a Time, but that was a very simple character. Tex in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. Two great accent guys, him and Christopher Walken in Dune. That's gonna be.
I
can't wait for Walken.
Oh, dude,
that's gonna be amazing.
I can't wait.
I just trust Denny.
Yeah,
I do too. I think his love of Dune is I don't give a fuck who he casts. Like I just try. If
cast Fat Tom Hanks as the new Baron Harkonnen. Actually,
I don't know if he's commented on this. By the way, he has. Denny's love this. It's like Denny's love for Dune is like it's been his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume in his head, Christopher Walken, there's a chance, has always been
in his mind.
The Emperor. Yeah, like that's always been in his mind what the character looks like.
That's what we thought about when he first watched The Deer Hunter, but before he watched Balls of Fury, he was like, yeah, I can picture this.
Maybe not, because I guess when he would have read it, he'd have been Walken would have been younger, but I'm very curious like who in his head
was the Emperor. Like
who played that role. Yeah, so that's
Walken did have a great early dramatic career, so it wouldn't be crazy if that was like his first introduction to him.
Christopher Lee. I don't know.
Christopher Lee would be great Emperor. In peace, the big dog.
That's it for the review. 80 for Kenjack, way higher than we thought.
Yeah, I will say that. We said that going into it. We're like, no way, or at least I said it going into it. I was like, no way the critics are right on this, blah, blah, blah. They weren't right. It's not a 20-minute standing ovation of Khan movie at all. It's
not a masterpiece.
It's definitely.
I've seen the word masterpiece. I won't say that. I really liked it. I think this is one or two tweaks, and I think it's mostly Tom Hanks from being incredibly good.
Remove Tom Hanks and remove the first act, and this is way closer to what would be considered a masterpiece.
83 for me. Gooch gave it a 75.
Yep.
Yeah. Next week we're going to do a tandem review, like I mentioned, Stranger Things, Volume 2 of Season 4, the final. It's basically 2 movies, and then we'll do Hustle, Spiderhead, which some people really don't like.
Spider was fine.
And we will talk Minions: The Rise of Gru. They're back. The Minions are back.